Hey everyone, and welcome to the second lesson in our series for Web3 marketers. This is Web3 Marketing 101. In the first lesson, I covered what Web3 marketing is, the fundamental elements that set it apart from Web2 marketing, and what you need to succeed. If you missed it, don't worry, you can head over there to watch it first. As a reminder, this is the second video in a series, and we have 4 more videos to go. So thank you for being here as we dive into the different parts of Web3 marketing. Stay tuned and subscribe. Today, we're going to get a bit deeper into the topic and take a look at Web3 audiences and where you can find them. We're going to cover your classic crypto audiences and newer entrants into Web3, the preferred channels to find crypto audiences, and a little bit about how to use these various channels. So let's get right into it. So how are Web3 audiences different from Web2 audiences? Well, first, they're a bit hard to target because they tend to be distributed globally. There are some distinct divides on gender and age, with most crypto investors being men between the ages of 18 and 25. But that's beginning to see some upset as more women enter the space. This also means that we'll be talking about crypto audiences quite a bit in this lesson. Web3 audiences are still shaking out, but they will likely be heavily founded in the crypto audience. In fact, in the last 2 years, there was a rapid rise in the number of new entrants into the crypto space. This came with shifts toward a focus on Web3 and not just crypto. In terms of newcomers, though, this space got an injection of celebrities and influencers. I think we all heard about the Kim Kardashian crypto drama or saw some celebrities flexing about their Bored Apes. We saw artists, especially around the height of the NFT bubble, mainstream brands, which is continuing to grow despite the bear market, gamers, although there's been some pushback here, Gen Z as they start earning and have some spare cash, and of course, more women. This brought some great fresh perspectives and sometimes scandals. But there's also a way to look at Web3 and in particular crypto audiences. In this case, instead of strictly traditional demographic data, it's often more important to think about how long someone has been in the space, how much they know about the technology, and of course, their motivations. So using this lens, our first category is crypto natives. These are your earliest adopters. They've been around since before 2016, meaning they're not scared of some poor user experience or complex technology. In fact, they tend to have a bit of technical expertise. They invest based on value, trying not to just think about their financial returns, but the technical, structural, and social value that a project can provide as well. They've toughed out multiple bear markets in return and probably saw some pretty great returns in the bull markets. And finally, they tend to predominantly be men between the ages of 22 and 50. This is a huge demographic, but like I said, Web3 is pretty international, so they tend to be based in the US, Asia, and Europe. Because they were here before there was major money in the space, their motivations tend to err a bit on the belief in underlying technology. So they want to be in the know and always ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation. They're also drawn to the fact that they're taking part in a much larger technical experiment. Where can you find crypto natives? The best places tend to be focused on the most recent technical innovations. They'll likely be a little tech-heavy, although with room for investors as well as devs. Think conferences and events with ETH Denver or various hackathons. Blogs like Vitalik Buterin's would probably be the best known example. Industry newsletters, forums like the forum used to organize the first ever Bitcoin transaction on Bitcoin Talk, Twitter key opinion leaders, again, you can imagine blockchain royalty, Vitalik, Buterin here, although there are a good number beyond this, and more exclusive Telegram and Discord groups. The commonality in all of these, of course, go back to their motivations. These are all great places to learn about and engage in discussions driving the future of blockchain and Web3 technology. So, if the first group, the crypto natives, came before there was a lot of money, the next group came with the money. Now, that's not to say that they're not interested in the tech at all or the social implications. In fact, they tend to be some of the biggest proponents. These are your crypto enthusiasts. They are more money motivated, so they come on during the bull markets and might not make it through market downturns. But they're still very eager to learn about the space and how to evaluate projects. They tend to be invested in learning a lot very quickly, but can still be susceptible to sophisticated scams. They're predominantly men between the ages of 18 and 45. Distribution is very global for this group. In general, they're motivated to be ahead of the curve, adopt crypto technology before it goes mainstream, and of course, land a windfall. They want to find and invest in a token before it truly gets big. So, because of crypto enthusiasts want to learn about crypto and the latest tokens before everyone else, you can find them in a variety of places. In fact, a huge quantity of content is created specifically for this audience. But some of the best places to head are TikTok. Crypto marketers are on every social media now, but especially with more Gen Z coming into the space, TikTok is actually a great place. Reddit, for the enthusiasts who want to have a dialogue. Telegram and Discord groups, although these tend to be less exclusive than the groups you'll find in crypto natives. Twitter, of course, where crypto lives, or at least has so far. Crypto native sites to get a bit more in-depth news or to stay up to date with technological updates. YouTube for the more in-depth token analysis and some technical know-how. And finally, a marketer's dream, although not necessarily a clear-cut channel, the highly effective friends and family referral. It's important to note that each new bull market generally brings a new wave of crypto enthusiasts eager to learn about the space. And while many fall off when the market is down, there's always a group that sticks it out. We're also seeing more return enthusiasts who've already established savvy in the space but might have burned out in the past, but they're not leaving for good. Our next group aligns quite strongly with blockchain and Web3. In fact, they'll likely come across mentions of this technology at work. But while their work may be aligned more, they also tend to be from the very established tech and financial fields that early crypto was very counter to, and Web3 is still refuting a bit. These are your traditional finance or techies, Tradfi. Like I mentioned, they're working in crossover industries, so they might come from hedge funds, banks, tech companies, and incubators. Pulling from the past, they tend to drive the space towards more institutional-facing products. They also help to make this space more compliant, and many of them are also investors. Generally, for targeting, it's better to use something like LinkedIn that will let you target based on job rather than strict demographics. And their motivations? They want to contribute to the future of this space as it becomes more mainstream, and especially fill certain knowledge gaps that they see based on their experience. And many are also looking to diversify their portfolio. So aside from LinkedIn, where can you find them? Podcasts, especially like A16Z or from other investment or tech firms. Conferences and events. Although rather than the extremely dev-focused hackathons, it's better to look at industry events like World Economic Forum, where financial leaders will discuss the technology. Newsletters or a newsletter distribution platform like Substack tend to be very popular. Twitter, as it's ubiquitous in crypto, Telegram, and Discord groups. These groups are likely to be more focused around career and regulation. For this group, you can look towards big institutions like the Big Four and more major economic players, although many also venture outside of these groups, especially if they become active investors themselves. This last group tends to have a lot of similarities to crypto natives in terms of motivations, but the developers driving this space continue to be extremely important and a clear segment that marketers often need to do a lot of learning about in order to reach. They tend to be Web2 devs interested in Web3 or existing decentralized app developers already active in Web3. While not hard and fast rule, there are often men between the ages of 18 and 45 who live in North America, Europe, and many emerging markets. While the motivations are similar to crypto natives, there are a few differences. For instance, both groups want to contribute to a future solution that they believe in. Devs, though, are extremely invested in community, resources, and the quality of tools available, things that likely won't impact your non-technical crypto natives. Because of the mutual goal of building in this space, this is also what many of the channels and conversations focus on. So look to hackathons and conferences and events, governance forums where the direction of projects and protocols are discussed and decided, Twitter, of course, Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange, where Q&A platforms are around code, GitHub, Discord. These communities tend to focus on coding languages or ecosystems to provide community support for answers. All right, this concludes the main distinct crypto audiences. If you remember, we have crypto natives, crypto enthusiasts, Tradfi and Techies, and the developers. Definitely not your normal demographics, but a good way to look at motivations and knowledge base. But let's take a closer look at what the primary channels are and what they're best for. Your most important channel in this space to date is Twitter. While it has faced its share of controversy, uprooting an audience can be hard. So Twitter is great for amplifying your message and building your reach because it's outbound and finding you a bigger audience where most Web3 people hang out. This is where you want to focus your efforts for community and reputation building. To do this, you can use your own or business account, or if you want to push it even more, work with influencers and establish reach. Align your fan accounts to help bolster the other people's motivation around a project as well. Discord and Telegram are both inbound groups, meaning that it's not necessarily an amplifier to build an audience, but rather they assemble people who already share a deep interest in the topic. These two are both great for organic interactions that deepen loyalty to a project. You can also use them to find more niche influencers and gen hunters in a space where it's more likely to engage in conversation than they might be on Twitter. Reddit, while typically much harder to run marketing campaigns on, can be great for organic interaction and SEO, or search engine optimization. However, please make sure to first find a subreddit that matches your needs and topic, and second, check and follow the rules. Now, YouTube is a bit harder because the time and resources it takes to create quality content can be a lot higher, but it can be great for SEO as one of the biggest search engines in the world. And while it can cost a pretty penny, influencer marketing on YouTube can be very effective. Instagram is a bit of a niche platform when it comes to Web3. It really gained popularity in the space during the NFT boom as projects needed a platform that could cater to their visual needs. But it's also good for other specific niches like digital fashion, avatars, and more direct-to-avatar products that tend to be very visually appealing and trendy. So, do some general best practices for what works and doesn't work. A lot of this you probably know already, but it never hurts to touch up. First, let's hit the positive. What works? Visuals. Use emojis, videos, GIFs, charts, or just a nicely designed visual to stand out from the crowd, especially on Twitter. Hashtags and cash tags, mostly for Twitter, but will help you to have a broader reach. Just make sure that you don't overdo it because you can start to look spammy, or just reach people who aren't actually interested in your content. And in that case, you'll see a high degree of drop-off and low engagement. So 3 or so hashtags is usually a good number, and try to make sure that they'll attract a relevant audience. Make sure to do some research before you post. News. Social media is great to keep up with transparency that Web3 demands. By sharing regular updates about where you are, where you're going, and letting people ask questions in public, make sure that you also answer in public, especially anyone with a bad view of your project, to give anyone else that's feeling those same doubts a good reason to trust you and to stick around. So you can use news as a way to tell people about the updates on your project, the roadmap, what you're doing, and share the events that you're attending. And of course, like public feedback, you can provide answers to people who may have doubts and minimize FUD, or fear, uncertainty, and distrust. Organic interactions are extremely valuable, and that's because often they're based on what people actually need. So, although this is less scalable, try to take time to just talk to people, whether on Twitter, Discord, or somewhere else. This will grow trust in you and your project if you're using an official account. Web3 is extremely complex and technical, so anytime you're able to explain part of it in a simple way, there's a good chance people will stop and listen. But to hit the other side, Web3 is also known for being scammy and spammy. Sometimes it seems like everyone is just here to sell something, so avoid painting that picture. And here's how you do it. So, not just sharing meaningless hype posts like ETH to the moon. Put a bit more meaning into your posts. Celebrate people and projects when they deserve it, of course, but make sure you can give a clear reason for why you might have said or posted something. Definitely don't post spam or mass DMs. This is a great way to get your account suspended. And if you join a group, don't just start shilling your project. This goes to the next one. Actually engage with the members of that group about the thing that you're interested in. Then, if there's a good and natural fit, you can bring up your project without casting it in a bad light or getting kicked out of the group. And avoid breaking the rules. Many Discord, subreddits, and even Telegram groups will have them. And using discriminatory language is pretty basic. Okay, that was a lot. So to recap, while Web3 gained a number of newcomers, including some that are changing the demographics like more women and mainstream brands, it's still heavily influenced by the early crypto audiences, which tend to be men aged 18 to 45. We break those down into the earliest entrants: crypto natives, those pulled in by each new bull market; crypto enthusiasts, those who come across it for work; traditional finance and techies; and of course, those who build in the space, the developers. And while you can't forget your in-person events and crypto native news sites, the main channels that you'll be using to reach the audiences are Twitter, Discord, Telegram, Reddit, YouTube, and more recently, Instagram and even TikTok. And finally, make sure to remember that this space has a history of scams. If you don't want to be labeled as one, be careful about how you position your project and interact. Try to provide value before asking for anything, and pay attention to what people actually want. But while these groups and channels will help you, it's also important to keep in mind that this space is young. It's still changing a lot, so be sure to apply your own know-how and research when identifying a target audience, and play around a bit with channels. Test things out to see if they work for you, your project, and your audience. And of course, if you have more questions or just want some people to talk to, head over to our Discord. We have a Web3 Marketing 101 channel where there's a case study to go with this course. And I'll be there once a week for live office hours. You can find updated times in the events section. And don't forget to subscribe. Next week, we'll be talking about paid marketing, which in Web3 is an emotional roller coaster. I'll see you then.